क्या हाल है Tyrone? How are you?
I'm good.
You're
I'm
good?
good. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Same
Thank you for
same
having me
here.
here.
Thank you very much. Tell us something about the old school marketing.
Well, I've started as a media planner, and I've seen mediums and concepts and ideas change across the period of time. So I don't know what you would refer to as old school, because in Pakistan there's still a debate running. Is digital viable? Are the old mediums there? We've been hearing since 2009 that TV is dead, but TV is still there. So I guess it's basically more about perceptions, and there is people who are risk averse and there are people who are open to risk. So I would basically classify according to that. And I would say that people who you would say would be old school would probably be more open to risk than those who are there at right now in the market. So that's what I would say.
अच्छा, like AI is changing the landscape of advertising all over the world.
Yes.
आप इसको क्या देखते हैं कि next 5 to 10 years जो है पाकिस्तान के लिए क्या स्कोप होगा एडवर्टाइजिंग का?
So what I will be saying is not going to make people happy. I'm not a very big fan of AI, right? I think that AI is an incredible tool,
Okay.
right? But we need to develop the human creativity, because at the end of the day, to use AI, you need people, right? It's like the same thing. It's like a computer program. The quality of the instructions that you give the program will it will basically determine what will be the output that it would give. So there's an old terminology back in the day, garbage in, garbage out. So you need to fix the people, or not fix the people, you need to get the people confident enough to use. And I think we have seen so many things come across. There was big data and there was programmatic, which seemed very problematic to me. And a lot of things have come and a lot of things have gone. And sometimes I think we just get caught up. And unfortunately, for people who are in marketing listening to this, marketing is a very reactive trend, reactive field.
True.
We want to think we are the bosses, but we're actually taking orders from finance. We're taking, we are taking dictation from the internet companies. It's a very reactive field. AI is another area which has seemed to hit across the board. So maybe the changes in AI are important right now, but I think one of the more issues that we face in this market or any market, and these are discussions that you will have all over the world, is the quality of work, the quality of clients, and how to get out of the mediocrity that is there, or the perceived mediocrity, right? So what is mediocre to one person might be something brilliant to another. It's all a matter of perception, right? So I think there is a lot of space for different sort of views across the table. I had a very interesting interaction. When I started off in media planning, there's a company called Telmar, which sells media measurement tools and things like that, right? And back in 2009, I was one of those digital advocates. Digital is going to change the world. We're going to, have a dialogue with our customers, and we're going to, it's not going to be boring. It's going to be fun. Who knew? But there was a person by the name of Stanley Federman.
Okay.
He started Telmar. So he had a blog post, and he was talking about selling traditional marketing measurement tools and digital marketing. And he was like, digital is optional. I was like, why are you saying it's optional? So he actually replied to me through his daughter, which was very surprising, because if you go look up Telmar, it's a huge company. And Stanley Federman was like, advertising and measurement god. And he said, like, I understand what you're saying, but I will not dictate terms to my client or customer. I won't put my preference on other people. So that's a sort of media agnostic idea, which Dr. Angus Jenkinson has also come up with. The problem in Pakistan, the problem across other places, is we look for where we're going to show the ad instead of what we're looking to talk about, right? So that's why everyone is doing those rap battles or doing those jingles. Why? Because it's an easy sell, and we want to create habits and we want to break clutter. Now, Reese and Trout have proved this many years back, that most of advertising messages is just adding to clutter.
Okay.
It's like the average American back in the 60s was exposed to what, 60,000 messages a day. What is it now? Must be close to 1 million messages a day. We cannot take in that level. So you have to create a relationship. You have to create some sort of relevance. So I'll give you an example, and I think observation is very important.
True.
Human nature. One of the people who I call the father of interactive was Lester Wunderman. So Lester Wunderman started Wunderman, Cato and Johnson. He basically was a direct-to-home seller. So he started with his brother, and he started this company of advertising, one-man advertising. And what they would basically do is they knew about people, they knew about the insights, they knew about the psychology. Because advertising, marketing, everything is psychology. Because why? Because you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with machines yet.
True.
You're dealing with people, but the people have become like the machines. We have become like machines, but the people at the end of the day are people.
Absolutely.
So there's a surface level, there's a deeper level, and there's a core level. To get to that core level, you need to have that sort of relatability, the relevance, the resonance. One of the things at Low, we had different principles. There's this 7 principles. One of the principles which really annoyed me at the time is great solutions require great problem. And I was like, what is this? And then later I discovered Greg Sattel, who is a person who's started a transformation movement. He's written 2 books. One of his books was Cascades. So he talks about a great idea is not good if it doesn't solve a problem. So we need to have those problems that has to be solved. And once you identify the problem, then you can work backwards to how to solve the problem, because you understand what the person is looking for, or what the solution, what the person is. Like someone had said very famously that a person buys a drill, they want a hole in the wall, right? So what are the other options for making a hole in the wall? What are the other options that you're competing with, right? So brand essence and sticking to what you're good at, but also experimentation at the same time, I think that's very important. And that's somewhat missing in Pakistan, but there's a reason for that.
Tarun, since we both are from the same background, advertising में, data sciences आप समझते हैं कि किस हद तक जो है effective होता है किसी भी brand की visibility के लिए?
Okay, so I remember back in 2011, 2012, there was a lot of talk about big data, having data sets. Then they're talking about having, gathering data and stuff like that. So in other countries, you have syndicated data, you have first party data, you have third party data, right? In Pakistan, we're always talking about how we don't have data, but even the data that we have, is it in a usable form? Is it available for us to make decisions, right? And even the research process that we have, so even now focus groups are being used, right? So there's a lot of people who are in favor of focus groups, a lot of people are not in favor of focus groups, right? So big data as itself alone is not going to help you make those decisions, right? Because again, you can look for trends and you can look for similarities, but what basically happens is that people are different, right? So Martin Lindstrom, I'm sure you've heard of him, has always spoken about small data. It's those small things. Now, I don't know how many times you've heard that people have said that, oh, we have the attention span of a goldfish. It's only 10 seconds. Now we're TikTok and all, it's only 3 seconds. But is that actually true? If a person is interested in something, are they only going to give it 3 seconds? Is that the window that you have to create a connection? And can you create a connection in 3 seconds? Right? So small data is very important. So that leads to a science or field called ethnography. So ethnography basically means you go and live with people and you spend time with them to see their habits and their behavior. And because a focus group is an artificial environment, right? Sure. So there might be social pressure or other signs of pressure on the person to, fake, like suppose if you're talking about which brand of coffee you use, right? So a person there might say, oh, they use the most expensive. But when you live with them in their home, you will actually get to see which coffee they use, what sort of things they do, right? So when you live with people, when you do ethnography, you will basically see where is the sweet spot where technology and real life meet and intersect. And another thing which we need to consider, and this is something that has always been strange to me, is that we think we can separate the real world from the online world, which is not possible, right?
Okay.
So right now, unfortunately, when you drive on the streets of Karachi, you will see people using their phones. Even the person in the bike is using their phone. Even a person on a bus is using their phone. It's become like a sort of addiction. So even if a person is at home, like if you listen to radio is a very non-intrusive medium. So a man can be listening to radio while he's driving, while he's talking on the phone, while a woman can be listening to radio while she's cooking. So data has to have context, right? There's been a lot of thought about content and content creation and stuff. But more than data itself, I think one of the biggest issues in Pakistan is how do we go viral?
Absolutely.
How do we save the money on the budget and become super popular and super, super reach and super impressions and whatever? So for me, I think virality is a byproduct.
True.
It should not be a goal. It's not a goal. For me, virality has become like the new Facebook like metric. It's a vanity metric. It's just a feel good. And virality, there's no real formula to that. It has to have some organic part to it. It has to have some sort of critical mass or some tipping point. And it's basically, like fire and forget. So will this campaign go viral? Will this campaign create emotions and actions from people? That's something that's more important.
अच्छा टैरन, डू यू थिंक कि ये हमारा जो आज का जो एडवर्टाइजिंग वर्ल्ड है, स्पेशली पाकिस्तान के अंदर, डू यू थिंक कि जो मार्केटिंग जीनियस इस वक्त बैठे हुए हैं, कॉल्ड मार्केटिंग जीनियस, वो एआई डिपेंडेंट है, या आप समझते हैं कि यार एआई जो है वो इतना बड़ा कोई थ्रेट नहीं है इफ यू रिप्लेस इट विद द ह्यूमन ब्रेन?
देखो, अगेन एट द एंड ऑफ द डे एवरीथिंग इज अ टूल, right?
True.
So AI is a tool. So you will need people for that. You will probably see there's two ways of looking at something. One is which a company normally looks at efficiency. How do I cut costs? The goal should be effectiveness, right?
True.
Effectiveness. So efficiency is how much mileage or how much ad space can I get in my budget, right? Effectiveness would be how much budget do I need to make an impact on my target audience, right? So there's this person I came across on LinkedIn many years back in 2009. He was working at media brands, Phil Kyongson.
Okay.
So he gave an example of a wall and a ladder, right? So efficiency is when your objective is to get a ladder and climb over the wall. You basically, the efficiency is getting any ladder and climbing over the wall, right? Effectiveness is finding the best place to climb over.
Okay.
So even one of the people who I am not exactly a fan of, but I agree with his contrarian views, is Tom Goodwin. He is a person who has worked in media. He had come recently to Pakistan for Ad Asia. He came to Lahore. He had a session over there. So he's like, a lot of things are done. We need to know what needs to be done. What's going to move the needle? What's going to change the scenario? What's going to tweak, right? So that's something important, right? So AI is like AIEIO. It's like, it's like the Russians are coming or the British are coming or something. Again, at the end of the day, when everyone is going to be using AI, you're going to be lost in the clutter, right? So what I have actually seen is, I'll give you an example. I had gone to Islamabad many years back in probably 2009 or something. We had gone to Islamabad for a pitch. I was a media planner and I flew with my team over there. So when we were there, we saw these Formula One flags all over the place. And we're like, weird. Why are these here? Then we came back to Pakistan. We found out that the government of Pakistan had put up Czech flags, with the Formula One Czech flags to welcome the president of the Czech Republic. So someone went on the internet and looked up Czech flags and they saw, oh, this is what we're looking for. And then right? So the problem is people are using the internet to find ideas.
Okay.
And the issue is not the internet. The issue is you're trying to be creative. Don't be creative. You're trying to think out of the box. Why do you want to think out of the box? Why? Why do you want to think out of the box? Don't think out of the box. Think in the box. It's that creativity or that desire to, let me use those buzzwords, to innovate, to disrupt, to be creative. That is actually leading to more mediocrity. Why? Because you spend so much time trying to find a great idea. And then when you have a day left and you can't think of a great idea, you go on the internet looking for inspiration or to something to copy. And then you take what you have because it's like a kid doing a project, right? We all had that last minute report writing, that extra spur that you get. It was not my style, but that's what people do. So you think, oh, no, I'll make this different. I'll make this different. I'll make this different. And I'm like, okay, I don't have time to make it different. Let's just make it. So that's what happens. That's what happens. Maybe it's too much pressure or it's too much, trauma or whatever, but people going on the internet. And what's the antidote for that? The antidote for that, surprisingly, is the internet itself. It's a brilliant resource because anything you're looking for, you can find on the internet because you're not so unique that you're the only person who had this problem. That's a very arrogant way of thinking of it. Ehsan Shami, who runs Barely Average Design, who used to do espresso, amazing person. He was like, if I have a problem when I'm trying to assemble a wood carpenting thing or something, I just go on the internet and look, because I'm sure someone else has had this problem, right? So you can go there, you can find. And another thing is, if you look at the old school people.
Sure, please continue.
If you look at the old school people, they were not only into marketing and advertising. They were into poetry, they were into prose, they were into movies, they were into pop culture, they were into, language and other things as well. So the focus is, when you mix with people not from the field you're in, you enrich yourself.
True.
If I'm going to spend my time with people who look and think like me, I'm going to end up being the same, right? So you have to have that variety.
True. Tyrone, before AI and social media, we used different medium to promote the brands, like billboards थे,
अभी भी है,
print media था,
so still there,
रेडियो था, टीवी था. Do you think अभी भी उनका जो रोल है वो उतना ही significant है जितना पहले था, या वो चेंज हो गया है?
The problem or the issue in Pakistan is a TV-centric market.
Okay.
So if you looked at the latest Aurora media spend figures, TV is still like a large chunk. Digital has come up to around 26%.
True.
Print is very negligible. Out of home is not that much. Radio is decent right now. So out of home had a very exponential growth back between 2005 to 2009, right? Digital has come up, but TV is still. Why? Because all things said and done, TV is the most measured medium that we have in a way, right? And most of the people who are making decisions have grown up using TV. So Rory Sutherland, you're probably familiar with him from Ogilvy. So he was saying that any technology that you grew up with is accepted. Any technology that's introduced to you when you're in your 30s or 40s, you reject it. So that's the way it is, right? So TV is there, billboard is there. So you hear a lot of talk about digital measuring, but right now, even now, digital is still a fraction of the amount that you spend on TV, right? So let's talk about ad fraud in digital, but in Pakistan, we don't have a really great discussion about TV itself. Are we basically properly measuring TV? Because TV is still being measured in an urban environment. And if you're a brand selling fertilizer, you're not selling to urban people. You're selling to peri-urban and rural. And another thing is that Unilever and Reckitt had said this some years back. Because of the market saturation in urban, the new target growth areas are rural. But is TV being measured properly over there? I don't know. So there are certain things that are accepted, and there are certain things that are challenged. Like in Pakistan, I've seen a lot of bias and prejudice to TikTok.
Okay.
Worldwide, TikTok is being used. It's an extremely effective medium. In fact, a lot of the cultural changes that we know and are experiencing have been come around through TikTok. So it came from China, and then someone in the West put it on TikTok, and then it's been like, spread. The quiet quitting trend that spread, where people were slowing down at work or not taking up more tasks, that came from China. It was basically young people in China saying we're laying down. So they decided, we don't want to work for that crazy workaholic, that sort of attitude we want to do. So TikTok is an amazing medium. So just suppose TikTok, right? You can show your entire fashion collection and click through your website in 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
Where else can you do that?
Absolutely.
So the power of the medium is there. There are cases as well for using it, right? But I think there's a bit of prejudice. The issue is that the personal self-reference and bias comes in, right? Either for acceptability or for rejection. So that's something which we need to do away when you talk about data. So that's where data is needed. Where is my target audience? What mediums are they using? When are they using? Why are they using? So if you're going to buy for the whole nation, so you're basically creating wastage, right? If you're a 40-year-old man and you're seeing the ad, which is targeted to a 20-year-old woman, that's a kind of a waste, right? So the whole thing again comes down to efficiency versus effectiveness.
Tarun, what are your takes on the BTL activities? Do you see any brand activation? उसका कोई उसमें help होता है उसको brand को?
Okay, so the people who have pioneered brand activations were the cigarette companies. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Oh yes.
They did the
Because the limitation of the
So they did the TV productions. They had the reality show. They have done the brand activations. Companies like Helium was started because of that.
Oh yes.
Unilever has taken up those sort of things. Now companies like Team Reactivate, they also are branching into more full service agency, right? So activation is evolving. Due to the political and other scenarios in the country, brand activation is still there, but to get digital involved with that would be something more important. So we've had a few flash mobs over here. We have those kind of activities where you have this consumer promotions and different things, and then a lot of people have got into music. So music is on screen and you have on ground as well, right? I think it was Jazz or someone had done a concert in your apartment many years back. So we have to see again, what is the objective? What is the objective of this activity? What is the cost to carry out the activity? And what are the other things that are involved? Like how will you gather the data? How will you act on the data? Right. So I have actually been, by the grace of God, mashallah, I have been involved in the dolphin show. So that was a amazing experience, especially the kids show. Adults would sit there like, am I getting my value for money? Is this fun? I don't know. I could be somewhere else. The kids would love it. The kids would scream and shout and, enjoy it. But, so in that sort of space, we were trying to get brands to sponsor, as well as we were talking to brands to set up kiosks at that place, because 3,000 people in one show, right? And at least 2 shows on a daily basis. And on a weekend, it was 3 shows, right? So I was actually speaking to a company, Abbott. And so when I spoke to the country manager at Abbott, I said, look, you're not going to make sales from that stall.
True.
I'm not going to tell you, pay me this much amount of money and you'll make sales. You're not going to make sales. Like, we don't want sales. We want to collect data. We want to have an interaction with the customer. Like, that's fine. That's fine. I don't want to mislead you. You don't want to have this false. So he knew what he wanted to do.
True.
And mashallah, it was a very, very transparent and a very healthy conversation. So I was not like, oh my God, I need to get this deal. I need to get this deal. But like, look, I need to get the deal. The deal isn't good, but I will not sell you something that I can't deliver. So you're like, no, we're not interested in sales. So some people who did come there for sales, they didn't have the return, so they packed up. They were there for a while. They paid us a good amount of money. It was a good experience. These kind of activities should be there from time to time. But what is the purpose of those activities? What is the cost of space, public inconvenience? Can you do it more digital? Can you make it more interactive? Like one of my friends, we actually created the first Pakistan's first virtual cricket game. Okay. So we actually used a bat, which on screen was actually, mimicked or matched on the screen. So you could play it. And the timing was a bit off. Otherwise, he wanted to sell it, but the World Cup was coming right around the corner, right? True. So again, activities, cricket is more related to activities than other. And unfortunately or fortunately, you need brand money to do things in Pakistan. If you want to make a movie, you need because brands have money.
Absolutely.
So then, unfortunately, you take dictation then.
Very true.
The hero should use my product. The heroine should have my color. I should have this. So the issue is that what are the actual objectives and what is the feel good factor and what is the ego of the marketing team involved as well?
Absolutely.
Do you really need to fly to Thailand to make this ad?
True.
Is that really needed?
So, Tarun, let's talk about some ethical advertising. हमारे यहाँ अभी ग्लोबली ज़ाहिर है हर चीज एडवर्टाइज होती है. हमारे यहाँ अभी कॉन्डोम के एड के ऊपर बड़ा स्टर क्रिएट हुआ था. डू यू थिंक हमारे यहाँ अभी भी इतनी मैच्योर नहीं हुई है हमारी कॉम कि हम इस तरह के एड जो है वो बनाएं?
Well, actually, I think Josh has come in the market. True. And they've done advertising and they have taken the controversial route. The very first Josh ad, I remember when I saw it, I was like, oh, this ad was made to be banned.
Okay.
So I consider that sort of lazy advertising. It's like, how do we get people's attention? Let's make something that will be banned. And in Pakistan, if something is banned, everyone wants to see it because we are that voyeuristic sort of nation. So it's the same thing. Like when you talk about ethics, if you look at the quality of the news content on news channels, ethics is not something that's really important. In Pakistan, there are certain advertising standards which have changed over the part. You could not advertise sanitary napkins. Now you can advertise that. Condoms in the past were not allowed. Certain things would not be allowed in the market. I remember when we were working with Pfizer. So they actually had a condom brand. They couldn't register it in Pakistan. They had to register it in Dubai on Facebook. So there's certain restrictions based on culture or other things as well. But if there's a product that's there, it's going to be, somewhere like cigarette advertising. The cigarette companies, they were banned from advertising on the big media. But have you seen the way that they brand the kiosk and all the shops? Even now, these Velo and Zain, and all, it's insane. It's insane, because do you mean to tell me that a young child of 17 or 18 or 15 going there is not enticed by it? You're telling me if I see a TV ad of a cigarette, I'll be more impressionable than if I go to the shop and actually see its beautiful branding. So there's sort of gray areas, and gray areas is where everyone works around the world. When we grew up, we believed that Western companies had values. The number of scandals over the period of time have revealed that we were quite naive. Everyone does what they can get away with it. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Okay.
Even Benetton with those controversial ads, you remember those ads back in the day, the Bosnian soldier with the bloodstained uniform. So there are different ways of amplification. Again, virality is one of those things, right? Benetton wanted to go viral through those controversies. Other brands, local brands, they want to get viral through, again, Josh used the controversy way. If you have relative resonant content that people can relate to, then there's no limit. Like Moin Nazim, he has these graphics. It's crazy because it's very simple, and everyone has a mother and father. Everyone is buying cattle for Eid. Everyone is living in houses without lights. So it's relatable. So I think ethics, the issue is that in Pakistan, we don't show the lower class and we don't show the upper class.
Oh, yes.
We play safe.
True.
We show the middle class. So when we talk about like India, the ads show the lowest people using Airtel. If you remember the Airtel ad from back in the day, the person at the pan shop who was putting the chuna on the pan, he was using Airtel.
Oh yes.
He was using Airtel.
Yes.
Pakistani brand would not do that. They were like, oh, my customer is wearing a suit and he's on a yacht or he's flying on a jet, because they believe in inspirational advertising. We are still in that aspirational model. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, a brand basically feeds preys on your inferiority complex. If I don't have an inferiority complex, why would I care what car I देखिए, आपको एक simple चीज आपको मद्देनजर रखना है. Simple चीज. India is a regional hub.
True.
So when you are a Pakistani brand which is a regional hub in India, so India will dictate what ad is made or not, right? So I will give you an example. We were making an ad for Johnson & Johnson after hiatus, after a break. एक break लिया था, Johnson & Johnson वापस आ रहा था market में. तो हमने टर्की से ad लिया था. एक ad था, हमने इसके rights लिया टर्की से, ठीक है? टर्की वाले ने free में नहीं दिया. They charged.
Okay.
उन लोगों ने पैसे की कीमत लगाया. तो इंडिया भी ऐसे कर रहा है. अब वो प्रॉब्लम है, पाकिस्तान is a part of the market. It's not. ये main market नहीं है. इंडिया 1 billion plus है.
True.
हम 300 million या 250 million, लेकिन in comparison में insignificant, not insignificant but relatively less important. ठीक है. लेकिन मजे की बात है कि जैसे हम लोग पाकिस्तानी एडवर्टाइजिंग को ट्रैश करते हैं, इंडियंस भी एडवर्टाइजिंग को ट्रैश कर रहे हैं. पीयूष पांडे ऐसे लोग हैं जो हम बोले यार क्या बंदा है यार, कैसा एड बनाया. ओगलवी में होते हैं और भी लोग. दे हैव द सेम इश्यूज. वो बॉस सही नहीं है, क्रिएटिव सही नहीं है, मीडियोक्रिटी है. और ये डिस्कशन आपको यूएसए में भी मिलेगा, ये डिस्कशन आपको यूके में भी मिलेगा. लेकिन हम इनको एड को देख रहे हैं, बोले यार क्या एड बनाया. वो बोल रहे भाई कई क्या एड बनाया. तो ये बेसिकली डिफरेंट है. अच्छा, एक और चीज है जो हम लोग जो इंडियन एड्स देख रहे हैं ना, ऐसे वो बोल रहे जैसे अनफॉर्चुनेटली पाकिस्तान के नेगेटिव इमेज आते हैं कि पाकिस्तान टेररिस्ट होता है. क्यों? क्योंकि वो क्या देख रहे हैं कि ये छोटा सा हिस्सा हमारा पॉपुलेशन को देख रहे हैं. तो सेम चीज हम इंडियन एड को देख रहे हैं. हम लोग जो इंडियन एड्स को देखते हैं वो बहुत ही अमेजिंग और क्रिएटिव और इमोशनल एड होते हैं. लेकिन इंडिया जो है ना, वो बेसिकली सेलिब्रिटी ड्रिवन मार्केट है. सचिन तेंदुलकर हर चीज सेल करते हैं, हर चीज सेल करते हैं. विराट कोहली हिट है तो हर चीज सेल करते हैं. क्रिकेटर्स डिक्टेट करते हैं. ठीक है. तो हम लोग जो कंपैरिजन करते हैं, और मेरा जो एक इंडियन कॉलीग होते हैं लोगों का, कृष्णन अनंता, उनको भी सवाल किया आप लोग क्यों कंपैरिजन कर रहा है? वो डिफरेंट मार्केट है, डिफरेंट मार्केट। और दूसरा चीज है, इंडिया के अंदर दो फोर्सेस है जो एक दूसरे से लड़ रहा है, एक मॉडर्निज्म और एक इंटॉलरेंस ऑफ कंजर्वेटिज्म।
ट्रू।
तो वो जंग जो चल रहे है उसकी वजह से इंडियन जो सोसाइटी इवॉल्व हो रहे, लेकिन वो मोस्ट जो ज्यादातर इंडिया के जो अवाम है, वो जो हम स्क्रीन में देख रहे हैं वो ऐसे नहीं है, वो पॉवर्टी में रह रहे हैं।
एब्सोल्युटली।
कोई पॉकेट्स होते हैं, मुंबई होते, बेंगलोर होते, चेन्नई होते, जहां पे वेल्टीनेस होगा इसके, बट मोस्ट ऑफ इंडिया इज वेरी सिमिलर टू पाकिस्तान।
ट्रू।
हाँ, एक चीज है कि इंडिया में ना वो डिक्टेशन नहीं लेते। आपको याद है कि मेंटोस के ऐड होते हैं, दिमाग की बत्ती जला दें। मेंटोस की एक ग्लोबल एक फ्रेमवर्क होते हैं जो आपको फॉलो करना। इंडिया वाले ने इसको 2 साल फॉलो किया और सेल नहीं मिले, तो उन लोग रीजन को बोला भाई ये नहीं चल रहा। वो बोलेगा ठीक है, कुछ नहीं है, सोच ले। उसने सोच लिया। पाकिस्तानी वाले को बोले सोच ले, वो नहीं सोचेगा।
एब्सोल्युटली।
जी देखो, एक सिंपल बात है, जो चीज इंसान बोलते मुझे चाहिए ना, जब इसको मिलेगा ना इसको डर लगेगा, मैं क्या करूंगा अब इसके साथ। सब बोले मुझे आजाद चाहिए, मुझे ऑटोनॉमी चाहिए, मुझे फ्रीडम चाहिए, जब मिलेगा बोले मैं क्या करूं। आपको किसी को चाहिए गाइड करने के लिए। तो वो जो एक कंप्लेंट होता है ना, वो बेसिकली एक सॉर्ट ऑफ गेम है। तो हम इंडिया को कंपेयर करें, इंडिया का फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरेंस डिफरेंट है, पाकिस्तान का फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरेंस डिफरेंस है।
एडवर्टाइजिंग मार्केट, हमारे यहाँ एक ब्रांड है शान, उसने पंजाब में पेनिट्रेट करने के लिए एक मतलब एक एड इस तरह का बनाया है कि लोकल लड़की कराची की वो पंजाब में ब्याही जा रही है, ठीक है, उसकी शादी हो रही है, तो कराची का जो रेसिपी मसाला है वो पंजाब के अंदर वो लिखा है। आप क्या समझते हैं कि क्या ये इस तरह की जो एडवर्टाइजिंग है ये ब्रांड को वैलिडेट करती है या उस ब्रांड की वैल्यू जो है वो वैलिडेट करती है?
देखिए, बात यह है कि कुछ ब्रांड्स की सर्टेन एरियाज की स्ट्रॉन्ग होल्ड होते हैं। तो शान ओवरऑल आई थिंक मार्केट लीडर होंगे, जो हमें लग रहा है, क्योंकि हाउस होल्ड ज्यादा यूज करते हैं। और शान एक्सपोर्ट, बिकॉज आई हैव ग्रोन अप, जब हम बारिन में थे हम शान यूज करते थे, हमें
ओके।
नेशनल को पता नहीं था।
ओके।
एक मद्रास का करी पाउडर होता है, ग्रीन सा डब्बा, और एक शान जो हमारा सुपर मार्केट में होता है, तो हम यूज करते हैं। और इत्तेफाक की बात है, मेरी बीवी का हाथ शान पे सेट है। तो एक बार मेरी बीवी गए थे स्टोर मेरे साथ, और नेशनल उठा के लेकर आया। मैं सोचा यार पूछो या नहीं पूछो, ये कैसा हो गया। मेरी बीवी ने शान नहीं लिया, उसने नेशनल लिया। हुआ क्या, क्योंकि अगर मैं वो ब्रांड नहीं लेकर आता जो बीवी को पसंद है, वो बोले वापस जाओ। आपके भी ये होगा, सबका, औरत डिसीजन मेकर होता है। तो मैंने एक बार ऐसे सोचा, करेज बनाया, मैंने बोला एक बात बताओ, आपने नेशनल मसाला लिया? जी। फिर आपने क्यों लिया? वो शान नहीं नजर आया इसलिए मैंने ले लिया।
बिकॉज ऑफ अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ
जी, वरना शान इज द हाथ सेट हो जाता है। तो इस
एब्सोल्युटली।
तो स्टोरी टेलिंग इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड। अ ब्रांड इज नथिंग बट द स्टोरी। The story is very important. Who you are, why you are, what you stand for, what's your background, वो बहुत important है। और आप पता नहीं टपाल इसको कभी एडवर्टाइज नहीं करते हैं, लेकिन टपाल के एक छोटा सा शॉप होता था कारादार के साइड पे, शायद आफ्ताब ने वहां से शुरू किया।
ओके। ओके।
तो वो है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, एक लेगेसी इंपॉर्टेंट होता है। अब एक चीज होता है, बोले यार लेगेसी पुराना चीज होता है, को नया जनरेशन को इससे क्या रेजोनेशन है ना। लेकिन आप देखो, कोक, पेप्सी ब्रांड स्टार्टेड 1880, अभी तक यूथ को पसंद आ रहे हैं।
ट्रू।
अभी तो
Very true.
सिचुएशन थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट है, बट वो अभी चल रहा है। दे आर क्रिएटिंग रेलेवेंस एंड दे आर क्रिएटिंग रिलेटेबल फॉर द यूथ फॉर हाउ मेनी सेंचुरीज, फॉर हाउ मेनी डेकेड्स। अब वो स्टोरी टेलिंग के पास पावर है, ठीक है। कोक ओवरऑल वर्ल्ड वाइड ज्यादा वो है नंबर 1। पेप्सी पाकिस्तान में भी फाइट चल रहा है। एडवर्टाइज उनके बहुत अच्छा है, क्रिकेट, म्यूजिक वगैरह बहुत इनोवेशन लेकर आया। तो ब्रांड की स्टोरी, ब्रांड की वैल्यूज, ब्रांड की एसेंस क्या है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो शान ने अपनी स्ट्रेटेजी काफी चेंज किया। पाकिस्तान में शान फिगर्स नहीं दिखाते थे,
ट्रू।
अब वो चेंज हुआ, लेकिन बाहर मुल्क में वो एड बनाते थे। हमने भी शान पे काम किया था। एक रेडी टू ईट मील्स होते थे जो कनाडा यूएसए में रमजान कैंपेन में हम सेल कर रहे थे। तो हम लोग इस पे ऐड देखा और मिला ये तो शान है, ये तो इसमें 2 women आर टॉकिंग, मॉडर्न फैंसी women। मैं तो परेशान हो गया, बोली ये पाकिस्तान तो ऐसे नहीं होते। तो वो मार्केट के हिसाब से।
True.
अच्छा, एक और चीज मैं आपसे डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ कि अगेन ग्लोकल एक फॉर्मूला होता है। तो ग्लोकल इन पाकिस्तान बेसिकली मीन्स डिक्टेशन।
ओके।
आपके जो ब्रांड्स है वो रीजनल है और ग्लोबल लेवल आपको डिक्टेट करते हैं कि ऐसे ऐड होगा और आपको फॉलो करना। मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूं। हम लोग ने जॉनसन एंड जॉनसन के लिए समवन फ्रॉम द क्रिएटिव टीम, हमारी एजेंसी लो, इन लोग ने कहीं कनाडा या किसी से कॉन्सेप्ट एक ढूंढा था, व्हेन अ बेबी इज बॉर्न अ मदर इज बॉर्न।
ओके।
जो बहुत ही पावरफुल कॉन्सेप्ट हो सकते हैं। तो हमने क्लाइंट को कन्विंस किया क्लाइंट ने रीजन को भेजा और हम बड़ी एक्साइटेड था, हम ये कैंपेन करने वाला। रीजन ने बोला ये आपकी वक्त नहीं है, आप वही करो जो हम बोल रहे हैं, सिंपल टीवीसी बनाओ, कुछ फैंसी नहीं करना, ये वक्त नहीं ये करने का। और रीजन कौन है? दुबई में जो बैठा है, जो हम बोल रहे हैं कि बहुत ही इनोवेटिव और बहुत ही रिस्क टेकिंग और बहुत ही वो क्या कहते हैं उसको। तो हम अपने आप को भी कभी वो अंडर एस्टिमेट कर लेते हैं। एक और एग्जांपल है ऑफ इनोवेशन, जावेद जाफरी, सब हम दोनों के दोस्त हैं। उनसे हमने बात किया था जब यूनिलीवर ने लाइफ बॉय के जो मैसेज रोटी पे लगाए इंडिया पे, वो एक्चुअली आइडिया टेस्ट हुआ था पाकिस्तान में और बैकलैश हुआ। हाँ, तो अगेन कुछ चीजें हमें डिस्कस करना है कि कंजर्वेटिव सोसाइटी बैरियर नहीं है। इंडोनेशियन एडवर्टाइजिंग देखो, वो डिफरेंट होता है, वो रिस्क टेकिंग होता है। वन ऑफ द बेस्ट कैंपेन्स आई हैव सीन वाज वेयर अ इंडोनेशियन मदर was seen scolding her son. That was the ad that was there on the DVC. Okay? And later they revealed that the son spoke back to the mother and said, Mom, don't be worried. I have this bank. It's very reliable. अब पाकिस्तान में ऐसी चीज नहीं हो ना, तो वो do we have the courage to divert from what is being done? Do we have the courage to challenge the status quo? Do we have the courage to be irreverent? उसके जो सारे कसूर है वो हमारे ग्लोबल एजुकेशन सिस्टम।
Absolutely.
आपके बच्चे माशाल्लाह बहुत क्रिएटिव हैं, इमेजिनेशन है, क्यूरियोसिटी। आप बच्चे को क्या करता है, ये है इसी तरीके से करना वरना नहीं। मुझे एक चीज याद है, मेरा बेटा छोटा सा था, वो एप्पल बना रहा था और इसने मल्टी कलर्ड एप्पल बनाया। मेरी बीवी ने बोला नहीं बेटा, एप्पल जो है ना वो ब्राउन, रेड या ग्रीन होता है, मल्टी कलर्ड कोई एप्पल नहीं होता है। स्टीव जॉब्स ने मल्टी कलर्ड एप्पल, हमने बोला वाह क्या बात है एप्पल। बोले भाई बच्चा स्टीव जॉब्स के बाप है। आपने उनको रोका, नहीं भाई ये ऐसे होता है, ये ऐसे होता है। फिर वो बच्चा अडल्ट बन जाते हो, आप बोले कुछ करके दिखाओ, वो कैसे करके दिखाएगा जब आपने इसको खत्म कर दिया? आपने इसको किल किया, आपने क्रिएटिविटी किल किया, आपने इसको इमेजिनेशन किल किया, आपने इसको इंडिविजुअलिटी किल किया। बोले ऐसा बनना और ये चीजें मिलेगा, ऐसा नहीं बनेगा। आपने इसको खुद एहसासी कमतरीन डलवा दिया। बच्चे अल्लाह माशाल्लाह, अल्लाह ताला ने जो पैदा किया इसमें कोई एहसासी कमतरी नहीं होता है। वो माँ बाप ने दे दिया, सोसाइटी ने दे दिया, स्कूल ने दे दिया। मैं ऐसा नहीं हूं तो मैं ऐसा नहीं मिलेगा, प्यार नहीं मिलेगा, इज्जत नहीं मिलेगा, तरक्की नहीं मिलेगा, पैसे नहीं मिलेगा। तो वो एक आपने इसको पूरा वो डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया।
So, any advertising success stories from Pakistan
that have gone global? Well,
True.
I think the biggest thing that we've seen is that Coke Studio Pakistan was adopted across the border.
True.
In India. There was Coke Studio Arabia. There was even Coke Studio in Latin America, right? I don't know whether South Africa or someone had done that as well. So that was a concept that was replicated across. एक और चीज है जो पाकिस्तानी मार्केट जो है, हमारा पाकिस्तानी जो लोग हैं, नॉर्मल इंडस्ट्री एंड फ्रीलांस, वो आपको जीसीसी और दूसरा एरियाज को सर्व कर रहा है। So I know personally that people sitting here in Pakistan who are doing advertising for brands in UAE, and the clients over there were very pleased with it.
Okay.
So even now I have friends who are working with clients in UAE, they're working with clients in Bahrain, they're working with clients. One thing which was Commander Safeguard was a BTL activation idea.
True.
Which Aziz Jandani had the courage to turn it into a TVC and a full platform. And he got the recognition and the praise from P&G Global. He was actually there in Seattle as the global brand manager for Safeguard. So that's a great achievement. So that was something that was very interesting as well. I think there's a lot of different things that could go across, but right now, so far, not. I would love to mention recently Audio Nikanama by Easy Pesa. That has been a very impactful campaign in Pakistan itself. And in recent years, Pakistan has been winning some awards for schoolgirls, newscasters, and other things like that. So the work that we do is being appreciated in reason. And it's not like Pakistan is an unknown. Will campaigns from Pakistan be taken over by brands in other places? Again, you get dictation from the global to the local. It usually doesn't work the other way.
So can you name any experience or words to share with the audience?
Okay, so by nature, I am a very fiercely individualistic person, right? And one of my traits or skills or values is irreverence, right? So I believe in questioning beliefs, not for the sake of questioning, but because it helps you to know, right? Because unfortunately, we repeat patterns, right? So I will give you an example. ATL and BTL.
Okay.
They are terms which are used in our market,
Absolutely.
right? Do you know what's the origin of ATL and BTL?
No.
No. Okay. So I found this out from ex-colleague Eamon, who used to be at Low.
We
So
usually say ATL is
above the line, and
BTL
below the line. Yeah.
But
You don't know what the line is. Some say the line is digital, some say the line is mass market, some line is a. This is actually a terminology that was created by an accountant in P&G in the 1960s
okay.
to decide which campaigns or which advertising the company would be giving commission and which they wouldn't be giving commission. So that's the line. That's the line which you've been following for the last, I don't know, 60 years. And we've been fighting about it. Okay, nay, cinema is above the line, cinema is below the line. You don't even know what the line is. Another thing which I recently learned is Adam Grant had a talk which I came across. What is soft skills? Where did soft skills come from?
You tell us.
Okay. So I didn't know this myself because we don't challenge the knowledge because we've been taught not to challenge.
True.
When you're in school, the kid who says, आपको कैसे पता कि दुनिया गोल नहीं है? हम हंस रहे. अरे यार कैसा बच्चा वो सर ने बोल दिया तो होगा ना. Why soft skills is basically a classification from the US Army to divide hard skills, which is driving a tank, and soft skills, which is leadership.
True.
So everything we have is come to us from some place. And even the biggest issue I have is with Maslow's hierarchy. Maslow updated his hierarchy before he died. Self-actualization is not the top, it's transcendence. And Maslow never intended a pyramid. So your whole life has been a lie.
So this was Tyrone Dallas. And he was speaking about the advertising in Pakistan. हम इन्हें बार-बार ज़हमत देते रहेंगे. Thank you very much, Tyrone.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.